The story begins in a very beautiful place, with a view of a lake. Someone is calling out to our main character by the name Ashu. Yes, viewers, this character's name is Ashu, and he is the main protagonist of our story. The person calling out to him is none other than Ashu's own father. He says, "Ashu, son, what are you doing? Why are you standing in one place like a fool? What are you trying to prove? And yes, tell me too, what are you thinking about so deeply?" Viewers, this is Ashu's father, asking his son why he is standing still like that. Ashu, who had been lost in very deep thought, snaps out of it and looks at his father with an expression as if he doesn't even recognize him. Seeing this, his father says, "Hey, why are you reacting like you don't even know me? Stupid boy, don't do this in front of anyone tomorrow. You'll embarrass me. People will start laughing at us, especially at me. My own son can't recognize me. But fine, I won't ask what you were thinking about. Think as much as you want, but don't forget me." Ashu's father also wants his help in setting up the net, because both Ashu and his father are fishermen. Catching fish and selling them in the market is how they earn money and survive. His father even says that if luck is good today, he'll show him something really nice, a surprise. Hearing that, a gust of wind seems to hit our main character, and he says, "Sure, I'm coming, father. Just wait a little, but at least tell me what the surprise is going to be." In the next scene, we see Ashu and his father start catching fish. Ashu is learning a lot from his father, but his father is the real expert. Every time Ashu tries to catch something, he ends up grabbing crabs, which keep pinching him again and again. But it's not just Ashu who's funny, his father is too. When he catches a fish and starts eating it, he begins coughing in between bites. Like father, like son. But their bond is incredibly strong. While catching fish, they don't even realize how time passes, and morning turns into evening. And during this, our protagonist Ashu spots a fish, a rare type called red carp. He doesn't want to miss this chance, so he jumps toward the fish without a net to catch it. But when the scene shifts underwater, Ashu can't see the fish anywhere. It has suddenly disappeared. What's shocking is that not just the red fish, but the entire pond has become empty. He can't see a single fish anywhere. That's extremely strange. What's even more shocking is that when he dives deeper, he suddenly gets stuck. His body becomes stiff and he can't move forward. He has been holding his breath and now his oxygen is running out. He needs to go up for air, but something is holding him in place. In that panic, he calls out for his father. The moment he shouts, the scene cuts. Then we see darkness, nighttime. Ashu suddenly opens his eyes, remembering his dad. Turns out Ashu was just dreaming. When he wakes up, he realizes he has been tied up and his clothes are torn. Seeing him awake, an unfamiliar voice says, "So, you finally woke up." It's an old man named Xiao, and beside him stands Mr. Ji Hong. Xiao says to Ashu, "Still dreaming about your father, huh? How sad. What have you two done to me? And why have you tied my hands? Untie me quickly or I'll tell everyone in the village what you've done to me." But Xiao ignores Ashu's words and starts praising Ji Hong. "Ah, Mr. Ji Hong, your mind is brilliant, so clever. I'm honestly proud of you. You played such a smart trick on this kid to guide him, but the truth is, you want to use him as a bait to catch the monster inside this river. Manipulating him and using him as a bait? No one is on your level, Mr. Ji Hong. Whatever happens, I never want to become your enemy." Then Xiao turns to Ashu again, saying, "If you want to sleep, go ahead. You won't survive much longer anyway. Mr. Ji Hong is planning to put you to sleep forever. So whatever time you have left, spend it however you want, because the countdown has begun." But Ashu is thinking about something else entirely, the dream he just saw. Now we learn Ashu's real identity. He is calm because he's not from this world. He has reincarnated into this boy's body, and it has been 1 month since he arrived. The original Ashu had already died due to an illness, and this new soul took his place. We also learn about the original Ashu. His mother died during childbirth, and he was raised by his father. Their bond was so strong that even in dreams Ashu remembers him. The original father also died due to an illness. That bond was so strong that the emotions still linger in the body, and whenever this reincarnated Ashu sleeps, he sees that father again. We also learn that in his previous world, the reincarnated soul was also a patient. In his final moments, no one was around him. Seeing families visit other patients made him jealous, but he couldn't do anything about it. Now he has been in this world for a month and has started to adapt to Ashu's body. But Ji-hong tricked him and used him as bait, and now he is stuck in this huge mess. Ashu's real plan was just to take Ji-hong to the pond, not to help him as bait. In this 1 month, Ashu learned a lot. This world is filled with different and extraordinary things. The extraordinary things are powers, abilities that can take someone to the next level and increase their stats. Anyone who can raise their stats and use power is called a cultivator. Not just humans, but even monsters and animals can cultivate, training and evolving themselves. Animals that evolve through cultivation are given special titles. Suddenly, Ji-hong shouts, "He's coming! Get ready!" Xiao's stick falls from his hands because he's terrified. He calls it a water monster, though it's basically a crocodile. When Ashu sees it, the creature is circling around our boat. It's massive. It starts creating a whirlpool, and the boat is beginning to lose balance. Ji-hong, who had been acting overconfident till now, becomes pale. In his mind, he curses, "Damn it, no one told me this monster was going to be this big. I thought it would be something small, but this is huge." Not just Ji-hong, but even Xiao starts screaming like a girl. "No, it's too big. How will we fight this? Mr. Ji-hong, look, it's coming straight for us. Do something." Ji-hong finally gets serious because he doesn't want to lose face. He prepares to fight and reassures himself, "Looks like the moment I've been waiting for has come." We learn that Ji-hong has trained hard for the last 10 years, and now he is about to test how strong he actually has become. The moment he planted his stance and stepped forward to land his hit, a move that according to Ji-hong could change the whole world, we see the crocodile. Its mouth was enormous. His pants went wet from fear, and before he could do anything, it was over. The crocodile snapped and swallowed Ji-hong whole. Seeing that, Xiao literally collapsed to his knees and started screaming even louder. "No, he didn't want to die! Not here, not like this!" That's when he remembered the bait, Ashu. He turned to look and saw Ashu, and Ashu realized the fool would indeed use him to save his own life. Ashu was holding on to the boat so he wouldn't fall in, but Xiao shoved a knife into Ashu's hand so forcefully that it pierced through, then kicked him hard and threw him into the water so the smell of blood would draw the water monster to Ashu. As he sank, the distance between Ashu and the boat grew. His hands were tied and he was calling for help, but of course no one would come. Realizing no one would save him, he started working on his own escape. He bit through the ropes, trying to free himself, but it was taking too long, and the crocodile was right in front of him. Watching the monster approach, Ashu thought to himself, "This is my limit. I can't do more. Why won't anyone help me?" On the brink of death, memories of his father flashed through his mind. His father lifting him, and even in his final moments, Ashu thought only of his father. He wondered, looking at his father's face in his mind, if things would have been different if his father were still alive, how simpler and better their lives would have been. Slowly, Ashu stretched out one hand. As he grabbed hold, coming back to consciousness, he realized he had grabbed a lock, the same lock on which he and his father had once carved their faces together. How that lock ended up there, the author doesn't explain, but the twist works, so let's not question it. With help from that lock, Ashu hauled himself out of the water. He realized it was his father's boat, but the danger hadn't passed. The crocodile yanked him back under. Somehow he got a chance to breathe. He had been about to lose consciousness, and now we see the monster clearly. It looks less like a crocodile and more like a dragon. It had Ashu's foot in its mouth and was dragging him down into the depths. Ashu felt like he had no will to live. He thought, "I did everything I could to survive. I'm sorry. If you were here, you'd never let me die in such a pathetic way." As soon as he finished, the creature took him deeper into the seabed. Just before it could eat him, the monster started toying with him like any predator would. Ashu, standing in the water, watched as the crocodile turned for another attack. He closed his eyes. Then we see a coffin-like object appear beneath the water, right above Ashu's head. Strange runes circled it, and suddenly a system opened up. The water cultivation system activated. The system detected a water spirit. Skills unlocked. Water control. That meant Ashu had gained a water-type ability, one that would let him manipulate water completely. The system further notified him that a water spirit was available. Aquatic monkey activated. Awakening successful. The body just needed to recover. Once recovered, the host would wake up. The system recovered Ashu's body, and his eyes opened. Within a second, he thought, I should already be dead. What am I doing here? How am I alive in water? Didn't that crocodile kill me? He grabbed at his hands and legs, testing whether he was dreaming. It became clear it wasn't a dream. While hitting his limbs, he noticed how light the water felt. You've heard the law. The deeper you go, the greater the pressure. But down here, the resistance felt much lower. Still, other forces of the water were strong. Then he noticed the system floating before his eyes. The system told him the name of the skill, Flow of Water Control. It lets you manipulate water currents. Your physical body will not be harmed. You'll be like a water god, untouched by pressure. Along with control of water, Ashu noticed he could breathe underwater. That realization shocked him. How could a human breathe underwater? Probably because the system had activated and healed his wounds. He was inside the water and completely healed, an astonishing thing. At that moment, he sensed the presence of the crocodile behind him. It was still alive. He turned and saw the creature with its mouth wide open, and fear shot through him. He tried to scream, but more importantly, his hands had formed a shape in panic, and by accident, he used the current he could command through the system to create bindings. Those bindings stopped the crocodile mid-attack and held it. Up until then, the protagonist was clueless that he could control the water. It all felt like a joke, but now his eyes were opening. Everything became crystal clear. He remembered the system he'd heard about, the one cultivators used, the cultivator water system, and he believed this must be it. In his previous life, he had studied a lot about systems, so he knew this. With this system's help, no one can defeat you in water. Water imposes no limits on you. You can control water itself. But the crocodile wasn't an easy opponent. It began to free itself from the bindings. Ashu realized then that he wasn't permanently immortal. The skill had limits. The crocodile did free itself and lunged at him again. Movement is difficult underwater for a human, but Ashu had become an exception. Underwater, his mobility had dramatically increased. Using this, he dodged the water monster's attack. He knew he needed to teach the crocodile a lesson quickly. Simply dodging wouldn't be enough. It'd just waste time. Then an idea struck him. Control the crocodile so it would fully submit to him, obeying every command. But could he do that? He doubted himself. As soon as he thought of it, the system told him about a talisman, Blood Dominant, a skill that had just been acquired. The system began crafting that talisman for him. Now Ashu had to control the water flow to reach it and activate the skill. After that, we'd see whether it worked. Ashu swam backwards fast to get away from the crocodile, and the creature pursued him quickly. It closed in. Our protagonist reactivated the flow of water. First, he immobilized currents to his will and recreated bindings. The crocodile got tangled again, but this time the bindings were weak. The crocodile broke free of the bindings and launched a huge, powerful lunge, one that by sheer luck Ashu managed to dodge. Now the beast was dangerously close. Ashu activated the skill he'd gotten from the system, the talisman called Blood Dominant. He placed his hand on his head and triggered the talisman. The moment it activated, the crocodile began to swim with frantic speed, But somehow, impossibly, our protagonist clung to it. He wasn't about to let it go. Then something strange began to happen. One of the crocodile's eyes started changing. It literally took on the form of that crocodile eye. A spiritual battle was underway now, no longer physical. It was a fight of spirit power. Either Ashu would bring the beast under his control, or the beast would kill him right there. The crocodile's spiritual power surged. Slowly the animal's limb transformed. The eye fully assumed its crocodile shape. Seeing this, Ashu thought, "I think I'm going to lose." But he quickly pushed back, thinking, "No, I can't lose. I want to live. Let me live." A desperate surge of willpower rose inside him, amplifying his spirit energy. Shouting in his head, he resolved, "I will make this beast submit to me. Even if your progeny comes here, you will become mine." With that declaration, he poured the talisman's full power into the battle. The spiritual power that had been rising within him returned huge dividends. It helped Ashu massively. Cut to the surface. Ashu crawled out of the water and coughed. He was ecstatic. He had survived. His lungs heaved. He'd gone through a brutal fight. Then we cut back underwater. After all that struggle, Ashu had indeed forced the crocodile into submission. The beast would obey him now, a major accomplishment. After taming the creature, Ashu told it, "You will live in this pond and obey every order I give. Whenever I call you, you will come, running, sprinting, swimming. However you get here, you'll come straight to me. Do you understand?" The crocodile nodded its head, indicating it understood. Ashu thought to himself, "Once the beast recovers, a spiritual connection will be established between it and him, and then he'll be able to summon it. Right now, his spiritual energy was too low. If the beast went far away, he wouldn't be able to call it. Once he recovered, he'd return and use the spiritual link again to make sure it came when summoned." He ordered the beast back into the water, and it obeyed. Night had fallen. It was late. Before heading home, Ashu wanted to buy a few things at the market because he was starving. From his memory, he estimated his house wasn't too far, just a few kilometers, so he could walk home. The scene returns to the beast. It went to its cultivation spot, a cave where strange plants grew. Those were spiritual plants that produced mana, and cultivators ate these mana plants to accelerate their cultivation. The rarer the plant, the purer the mana it produced. Morning came. We see a group of people, including Xiao, guiding others somewhere. From Xiao's mouth, we hear the name Stuart Ji Hang. Xiao is taking someone to meet Ji Hang. Ji Hang is furious. The rest of the group don't know Stuart Ji Hang, and they become curious why he's being taken to Ashu's home. One of the men with them recognizes both of the men and realizes if they're going to Ashu's house, this means Ashu is in a lot of trouble. At that moment, a new character appears, Libo, a friend of Ashu's. He understands his friend is in dire trouble and knows he can't handle this alone. The scene cuts back to Xiao and Stuart Ji Hang. They're standing at Ashu's front door. Xiao mutters to himself, "If that kid is dead, I'll take every treasure in this house. I've had so many problems because of that rat. I deserve it." He blames Ji Hang for his own troubles and fumes that if the boy is dead, it's because of that scoundrel Ji Hang. Without more thought, he burst through the door like a thug, trampling into the house as if it were his property. But when they crash in, they get a surprise. Ashu is sitting there, alive and well. Seeing him, Xiao points a finger and spits, "Why aren't you dead? How are you still alive? That beast should have eaten you. I threw you into the water myself. How are you still breathing?" Stuart Ji Hang overhears some of this, though not everything. Because he is very old, he doesn't pay close attention. His mind is clouded by age. He dismisses the talk of death as nonsense. Old people sometimes don't feel the need to clarify things. Stuart G. Hang tosses accusations aside. But Xiao's anger balloons. The air around him thickens with rage. He's about to reveal something that will expose the truth to Stuart G. Hang. Xiao agrees with himself. You were absolutely right, Stuart G. Hang. I'm getting older, but this is the man. His name is Ashu. I was actually bringing him to you, but I didn't even know he'd be at home. Hearing Ashu's name, Stuart G. Hang becomes furious. So you're the Ashu whose house we came to. You're still alive? Fate doesn't let you die, does it? Fate wants you to go on living in humiliation and disgrace. That's why you're still alive. Stuart G. Hang goes on. The higher power knows how to punish bad people. Humiliation will keep coming until punishment is complete. He calls it divine punishment. Then Stuart G. Hang orders his men to seize Ashu. Go grab him. His thugs do exactly that. Ashu, caught by Stuart G. Hang's men, is confused and resists. What are you doing? Why are you grabbing me? Where are you taking me? He struggles, but someone, Xiao, punches him hard in the stomach. Xiao snarls, Shut up, you scum. Keep yapping and I'll keep beating you. I blame Ashu for G. Hang's death, claiming Master G. Hang died because Ashu brought death close and caused the village's protector to die. Xiao calls Ashu a murderer, that he killed the man who was supposed to protect the village from that monster. Xiao says the loss was huge, and Ashu must pay for it. Because of Ashu, the danger still hangs over them. You have to make amends, says Xiao. How long will a man accept his humiliation and continue to pile lies upon lies? Ashu replies, Old man, I know exactly what you're up to, but was I the one who had Master G. Hang killed? You were there. Why are you lying to cover the truth? How many more lies will you heap on me? Clearly you two used me like a pawn. Why don't you admit it? Master G. Hang didn't die because of me, he died because of you. Xiao explodes in fury. He snaps, Shut up! You dogs don't know your place. Do you understand what it is to be a killer? You had him killed. He keeps insulting Ashu, accusing him of murder. And just what are you trying to prove with all this shouting? That mouth of yours that snaps like a pair of scissors, it's only going to bring you more punishment, both from the divine and from us. You're not even a real human. You're a monster wearing a human shape, a monster who kills people. The word monster triggers a flashback. In his past life, he was alone, an orphan with no parents. Because he had no one, people treated him like a freak, like a monster. They kept their distance and called him disgusting, as if he were some kind of beast. They didn't leave any cruelty undone. They mocked him for not having parents. They pointed fingers whenever something was stolen at school, simply because he had no guardian to defend him. It made no logical sense, but people mixed cruelty with a kind of social logic and used it to haze him. Some kids teased him mercilessly. Some laughed and tried to appear cool by making fun of him without considering how he felt. Why all that hatred? One day, Ashu finally accepted it. He began to become what they called him, a monster. One fat student was mocking him in school. Ashu just looked at him, and the boy screamed, "Look, there's the monster staring at me," and dared him, "Hey, monster, if you've got the guts, why don't you hit me? Come on, hit me." That sentence changed Ashu. He became what they wanted him to be, a monster. Ashu punched the fat kid so hard, blood spilled from his mouth. That didn't give him satisfaction, and now it was happening again. Why hide his power? What good would hiding do when they would only keep targeting him? Quitting was never in Ashu's nature, and he wanted to tell everyone never to give up. After saying this, Ashu shoved himself up and delivered a hard headbutt to Xiao, who was staggering, then slammed a water pot into his own head so the water stored inside it spilled out. Water had become his specialty. Once he revealed his power, what would be the point of pretending he wasn't a monster? If people took to calling him a monster, fine, he had reached the limit of his tolerance. If his life got ruined and he had to be executed for it, he would accept it gladly. But after those people had killed others, Ashu started to control the water again. Xiao, panicking, cried out, "How dare you attack me? Steward Jihang, didn't you see? The monster attacked me. I say, take him to Master Jihang quickly so they can deal with him." Then an idea crossed his mind. He told this idea to Jihang, but it was a secret for now. Wearing a conniving expression, Xiao said, "We need people like this for our clan. He has no parents. He's a perfect subject." Steward Jihang agreed. "You're right. Listen, Ashu, I'm adopting you. You'll come with me and I'll change your life completely. If you don't accept, I'll break your legs so you can't work and make you live a life of disgrace." The onlookers were used to seeing people adopted for Jihang's clan. People had been disappearing from the village. No one knew where they went. Rumor had it Jihang's clan adopted people and they later vanished. Recently, Jihang's clan had adopted many people, and this frightened the villagers. A new character arrives, the chief of the village, whom Libo had summoned because he knew he couldn't handle this alone. The chief arrives angry and demands, "Who's that insolent fool who laid a hand on Ashu? Come out!" Libo had called the chief because he suspected he couldn't deal with these men alone. The chief scolds them. "Why are you doing bad things? Don't you remember I'm the village chief?" When Jihang sneers and calls the chief an old fool, the chief, who belongs to the respected Dashun dynasty, warns sternly that anyone who insults an official of Dashun will be punished. Steward Jihang gets frustrated, but the chief keeps warning, if they keep misbehaving, he can force them to write apology letters and publicly apologize to him. Libo steps in to calm things because it's getting out of hand. Still, Steward Jihang keeps calling the village chief names. But when the chief says he'll spare Ashu today, he promises he'll return alone later and take him to face his master, to pursue the investigation to the bitter end and make sure Ashu is punished. With that, he and his subordinates leave. Before they go, Xiao tells Ashu, "You and your father never appreciated anything good. You'll die like a dog," and leaves with the others. The village chief asks if Ashu is badly hurt. The men had said they would come back, so the chief kept him from getting into more trouble for now. Ashu thanks the chief, promises to remember this, and the chief departs with Libo. Once they're gone, Ashu tells himself this isn't the first time they'll come back. If he doesn't act, they'll keep targeting him until he dies. The chief saved his life now, but how long will that last? He can't rely on the chief every time. Ashu resolves to become strong. The system's arrival was a sign of fate that he could change his destiny. The system detected water essence in his potential evolution, but Ashu didn't understand what water essence meant. When he opened his status window, he saw his finances, 0 money. His stomach, his hunger gauge, wouldn't move, and the system's coffin, the fusion level, was 5. In the next scene, Ashu is at the lakeshore. Now that the status window has shown him his deficiencies, he wants to fix them because until they're resolved, he can't grow. And until he grows, the village will keep targeting him. Fate had given him an opportunity. If he didn't seize it, he would never stand up to the people of this future the way he had never been able to in his past. Humans enjoy causing others pain. They won't stop. People cross limits to satisfy their pride. Ashu starts summoning the crocodile. As the system had told him, he could call it from anywhere, but it required spiritual energy. After resting a bit, he now had enough spiritual energy to summon it. The moment he used his spiritual energy to call the crocodile, the water started to stir. Slowly the crocodile rose and with one long leap shot out of the water, but to Ashu's surprise, the creature had become much, much smaller. Seeing it, Ashu was stunned. "Hey, where did my big croc go? What's this little runt doing here? Who are you? Get back in the water or people will think you're a frog, not a crocodile," he barked. The system sent Ashu a notification to explain it's better if a beast stays in this small form when you don't want to waste energy. In this form, they can store their spiritual energy inside themselves for a long time. That's useful because otherwise they'd need to cultivate and feed every day. The smaller the beast becomes, the less power it consumes, so Ashu doesn't have to worry, and his spiritual energy won't be drained trying to feed his pet. Ashu was impressed. He already knew the system was amazing, but this feature surprised him even more. "I've got to admit, this system's one hell of a tool," he said. Now Ashu asked his pet where he could find water essence, whether he could tell his master about it, or at least guide his master to the place. As soon as he finished asking, the little crocodile dove back into the water. Ashu followed him, chasing the croc far under the surface. He went so deep that he found a cave no one knew about, an underground water cave, a place humans never explored. Otherwise, they would have ruined it. Ashu was amazed. The spirit plants ahead were overflowing with mana, so many that if he tried to count them, night would turn into morning. Some of them were legendary spirit plants he'd only ever heard about, never seen with his own eyes. Thanks to his pet, he could find them now. He touched one spirit plant. Immediately, the system activated and told him about the legendary plant. It contained water essence, and the system had detected it. If the host chose to absorb this essence, the system would grow with it. Ashu learned more about spirit plants. This world had many things that produced spirits and mana, but spirit plants were special because they carried spirit and mana inside them. People began to call them spirit plants or mana plants. Eating them sped up cultivation. The rarer the plant, the purer the mana. We also learned that Ji Hang's family, their master, O-Ji Hang, had a pond where many spirit plants grew. But the problem was, those plants were at the very bottom of the pond, and no ordinary person could reach them. Ji Hang's family, led by a man named Jaw, lured cultivators from all over the world with the promise of those plants, and used them to increase their cults. Over time, they turned those people into followers. If many cultivators joined Ji Hang's clan, the clan would become extremely powerful. 5. Ashu wanted to test how much water essence he'd receive after eating a spirit plant. But harvesting and tearing plants apart one by one would take forever. He thought of using his pet's help. As for the pet itself, it was sleeping and lazy, so Ashu realized he couldn't rely on it alone. If it weren't for his pet, he might never have even found these plants. He set that aside. Fate had given him this chance. After gathering a bunch of spirit plants, Ashu had to surface. He's still human and can't stay underground forever, even though he can breathe underwater. Air is still important for him. He piled the plants nearby, sat down, and began to eat them. The moment he took the first bite, the system detected the water essence and announced that if the host consumed the plant, the system's fusion with the host would increase. That fusion would grow the system and make Ashu stronger. Later, with those essences, he could evolve his pet. You viewers know how bitter medicinal plants can be. Many of them taste awful, even though they heal you. Ashu expected the spirit plant to taste bitter, but the opposite happened. The plants were delicious. He kept eating eagerly, stacking up water essence and fusion until his pet's meter started to swell. It felt like it might burst. The system then sent a long message describing what upgrades were now available. It would take time to fully explain, so you could pause and read if you want. But in short, Ashu had acquired a huge amount of water essence, and the system listed what he could upgrade. At first, he didn't need aquatic spirit or aquatic beast specifically, so he chose to focus on himself and use the essence to strengthen his body. When he hit the increase button, the aura of the water monkey flowed from his body. It was immense. Ashu could feel his body rapidly growing and becoming more powerful. With this power, he felt confident. If they targeted him tomorrow, he could crush them. If he'd had this power earlier, he would have solved these problems immediately and never let anyone intervene. He knew that if his enemies tried to help him now, they'd become targets themselves, and he didn't want anyone else's life ruined for his sake. Aquatic spirit didn't just give him power, his weight and muscle mass increased too. From that day on, until people stopped targeting him, he would need to keep collecting energy. He had absorbed a lot today and couldn't take more. Overeating would harm him, as you know. As he thought about the future and money, worries crowded in. His finances were terrible. His father was gone, and he had to pay the living expenses alone. That would take a long time. If he wanted to survive, especially in the cold season, crocodiles get lazier because their blood flow slows down and they go into hibernation. So he couldn't depend on his little croc to provide steady help during autumn. He couldn't lean on his small friend during autumn. Just then, a fish bumped against his foot, the very fish the crocodile had brought him. The croc had hunted and returned with a fish, solving Ashu's immediate money problem. Up until now, Ashu had worried how he'd collect money. After calling his crocodile and making fun of it for being lazy, he retracted his insults. Smiling, he looked at his croc and said, "All right, you're not completely lazy after all." "I'm really glad to know that. As long as you help me, I'll never sleep hungry. And this temporary poverty, I'll fix it by selling fish at the market." After that comes a morning scene. Ashu is at the market, and he's genuinely happy. Yesterday's catch sold for a decent profit. It's not a fortune, but it's enough for him to get by, so he won't be forced to beg on the street. Ashu also tells us that the merchants here are straightforward and easy to manipulate. In his previous life, merchants wouldn't give or take goods at fair prices because of taxes, so Ashu uses his old bargaining skills and manages to swindle a few of them. In the middle of the market, Ashu thinks to himself, now that he's resolved the water essence problem and gained this power, he only needs the right opportunity. He won't make the first move himself. He still remembers what the village chief said. As if on cue, Shao appears. Shao approaches Ashu and apologizes for their recent misunderstanding. He claims his situation has been bad too, and he wants to leave the past behind and start a new friendship. Their meeting in the market is no coincidence. Shao says he was looking for Ashu to apologize. Don't take that as a casual coincidence. Shao invites Ashu to his boat where he cooks. They can eat together, strengthen their bond, and forget old grudges. He tells Ashu not to worry about anyone else being there. It'll just be the two of them. Ashu thinks to himself, this is a golden opportunity. Good thing you came to me, he says with a nasty little smile. Yeah, why not? If it's just the two of us, I won't be scared, and maybe we can clear up the misunderstanding. Let's see Ashu's status. He has 8 copper coins, his little croc is immobilized, i.e. resting, and his water fusion level is 7.5. He's made real progress. Meanwhile, the scene cuts to the past, where we see Shao in very bad shape. Why is he suffering? Because Ji Hang is furious with him. As though Shao had stood solidly on stage supporting Ji Hang, things have turned against him. We learn there have been many problematic experiments in the mansion recently. Several people died, and medical supplies are running low. By medical material, Stuart Ji Hang meant the human subjects they test on. Now the picture becomes clear. Shao's whisper in Stuart Ji Hang's ear about adopting Ashu actually meant he was offering Ashu up as experimental material. Stuart Ji Hang wants any human test subjects sent his way. Shao, like a frightened dog, promises he'll make Ashu part of that medical material. He even vows to bring him in the very next day. When Shao says this, Stuart Ji Hang leans close and whispers, "If you do this, I'll personally recommend you for the Immortal Project. The experiment team will make you immortal." Shao's face lights up. The dream of becoming immortal. Who wouldn't want that? Stuart Ji Hang wouldn't lie. The prospect of immortality drives Shao wild. He tears his clothes in ecstasy. Symbols appear on his body, and he lets out a horrific scream. He's turning into something like a living husk, wildly chanting that nothing will stop him from becoming immortal. Cut back to the present. It's evening. Ashu and Xiao sit on the boat. Xiao tries to distract Ashu with talk of the scenery. The view is great. There's no ship around. I don't want to bore you with talk. Dinner is ready. Once we eat, we can finish whatever conflicts remain between us. Ashu remains suspicious. Are you telling the truth? No ships at all? I don't trust you. Sorry if I sound rude. Xiao answers, Of course I know. I won't be offended. I treated you terribly in the past, and that's why I'm apologizing. Let's settle this now. And don't worry about ships. I already checked. There are none around. That's when Xiao reveals his cunning idea. He quietly tells himself that as long as Ashu eats and doesn't lose his voice screaming, i.e., dies, no one will hear Ashu's cries. In other words, Xiao has drugged the food so Ashu's cries won't be heard. He grins at his own plan. The moment Xiao's plan becomes clear, Ashu stands up furious. Now it's his turn to act. He uses his ability. Xiao's expression changes to horror. What are you doing? Stop it! But Ashu sticks his water ability to Xiao's face in a way that suffocates him. Remember, humans can't breathe underwater. As time passes, Xiao chokes. His breathing gets harder and harder. Finally, Xiao faints, but he's not dead. In the dark of night, we see his eyes open again, which means Ashu did not kill him outright. When he regained consciousness and tried to move, he discovered Ashu had tied him up with ropes. He couldn't move and panicked. Ashu sits across from him and says the exact words Xiao once said to Ashu in the first episode, using the same kind of ropes that bound Xiao's own tears. If you like, you can sleep now. You don't have much time left. Don't worry, I won't torture you like you tortured me. Xiao is terrified and asks what Ashu intends to do by binding him here. Ashu shakes Xiao's pouch of money and says, This bag, the money you were paid to take me to the Jihang family. If you don't mind, I'll keep it. After all, I'm the target you came here to hand over. At the very least, I deserve this. It will cover my expenses. Xiao, in panic, tries to explain himself. Ashu won't even listen. He treats him like a dog, forcing him to beg. Finally, Ashu asks, Did you realize where you brought me? If you didn't, why didn't you look around and memorize the place so your memory could be fresh? Implying Xiao hadn't fought through the consequences. Xiao did exactly as Ashu had predicted, because now the thread of life was literally in Ashu's hands. After inspecting the place, Xiao realized this was the exact spot where they'd planned to bind Ashu and use him like a pawn. The only unlucky thing was they hadn't managed to capture that water monster. The moment Xiao mouthed the words water monster, Ashu's belly expanded outward, full size. Seeing the water monster again under those conditions made the ground fall out from under Xiao. His mouth hung open. The first time he'd escaped, but how would he get away this time? To Xiao's surprise, Ashu wasn't about to kill him right away. Instead, Ashu told the proc to eat Xiao's fear, then spoke to Xiao. You used to call this thing a water monster, but now it's my belly. For you, it might still be a water monster, but how dare you call me a monster? You said I was a monster. A monster can only have a monster's belly. Realizing Ashu was really a monster dressed in human skin, Xiao began shouting, Monster! Monster! Loudly and repeatedly. His pants were wet with fear as he begged Ashu not to eat him. Ashu told him he would answer whatever questions he have, A to Z, and Xiao, clutching his head, babbled and nodded. Ashu started with the first question. Why had Xiao brought him to the mansion? He'd heard people say that recently Jihang had been adopting many people into his family and then they'd vanish. What did Jihang need so many servants for? Xiao, faced with imminent death, confessed everything truthfully. Those people Jihang's men were taking were not ordinary servants. They were medical materials. Those human test subjects were being used to create immortality pills. One human was refined into a pill. Many cooperated in the process. Anyone who showed up in the area with no ties, a stranger, a wanderer, could be turned into experimental material. Hearing this, Ashu said, "So you've sent a lot of innocent people away and got paid for it. You're not innocent at all." Shao admitted it. "Yes, I had done terrible things. I'd been forced to help select medical material. If I hadn't helped, I feared I'd been killed in the same way. When something is done by force, a person can do nothing." As Shao confessed, Ashu's anger boiled over. "You Jihong dogs, if I let you live now, it would be a grave sin. I will avenge every single person you had killed by killing you here, and their souls will get justice. You'll die so horribly, you'll beg for it to be over." He grabbed a rock and prepared to strike Shao. "Shao, wait, listen to one more thing." But he didn't get the chance. Ashu struck and killed him right then. After he'd killed Shao, Ashu told himself, now that Shao knew Ashu was a monster and had seen many things, if Shao had been left alive, he would have gone to Jihong and told everything, including the location of Ashu's secret site, which Ashu did not want anyone to know, not even his own close ones. Ashu felt no remorse for killing Shao. If he hadn't killed him, Jihong would have taken Shao to the mansion anyway, and Shao would have likely drugged the food there. If Ashu hadn't acted, he himself might have died in Shao's place, and Shao would have had zero regret. So Ashu's action prevented that. He ordered his croc to drag Shao into the water. Now Ashu realized he would need to become far stronger to deal with these men and give himself time until he had backup. He needed a strong ally to protect him while he trained. As for Shao, the symbols on his belly caused his gut to bloat. His stats changed massively. Ashu now had far more money than before. His financial situation wasn't completely fixed, but it had greatly improved compared to before. The croc was motionless again, and its fusion level was 5. That lower fusion was because he'd used his ability, and now it needed time to recharge. The next scene is early morning, fresh air, good scenery. Honestly, two things in this world had started to please me a lot: the nature scenes and the father and son bond that appeared in some panels. Back to the story, Ashu rose from the water with his croc beside him. He was exhausted, but relieved. Having power made many things much easier. And if you wonder about Shao, it's been 3 days since Ashu killed him, but to avoid suspicion, Ashu had acted like a normal fisherman. He'd been going out early every morning and returning late at night, selling fish so no one suspected anything. He stayed away from the lake where he'd killed Shao and where the croc lived, because if anyone saw him there, the suspicion levels would spike. To hide the evidence of the incident, he'd staged Shao's disappearance by making it look like Shao had left and his boat had been taken. Because he used to bully people every day, villagers didn't question Shao's disappearance. They assumed he'd simply run away. Manipulating the villagers was easy for Ashu, but Jihong's family wouldn't let this go so simply. Shao had been an important member for them, someone who gathered unlucky people, so they would investigate his disappearance. The more fish he ate, the more water essence he collected, and the more spirit plants he consumed, the stronger he became. Night fell before he knew it. The scene cuts to our protagonist sitting in his boat with Kroko beside him. Ashu was cooking the fish into a soup. He'd even bought spices at the market. When he removed the lid, an amazing soup steamed up. One sip told Ashu how powerful the broth was. Not only Ashu, but Choki and Kroko were practically drooling, and Ashu, not being cruel, shared the soup with both of them. After drinking the soup, he gained 24+ essence, exactly what he expected, because eating mythical fish doubles the essence compared to eating spirit plants. He could feel his strength noticeably growing. He also felt lucky because with his pet's help, he could find all the treasures under the water. Not gold or silver, but spirit plants and water essence. Now it was time to upgrade. He hit the refine button on the status window and instantly absorbed the energy. Power flooded his body. If you want to read the system message, pause the video and read it. It's long. In short, he could not only raise his strength, but test it. Ashu wished for a fighting partner because his ability to control water was accelerating fast, but he'd have to evolve his pets too, and that required huge amounts of essence. Kroko needed 799 water essence, and the other pet needed 799 as well. Ashu pulled out the mysterious coffin we first saw in Chapter 1. It was eerie. Whatever the origin, he couldn't confirm whether humans or some other creatures made it, but the carvings told something. One side showed a young dragon, another side showed an ape-like creature, and on the other sides there were godlike figures whose lower bodies were sometimes serpents and sometimes dragons. The most mysterious image was an emperor wearing a black robe. Ashu realized he couldn't solve the coffin's secrets right now, so he wouldn't waste time on it. Since Shao vanished without a trace, Ji Hang's family would surely target Ashu even harder. Last time, Shao went out to capture Ashu and failed, and now Shao was gone. To avoid drawing the family's attention, Ashu resolved he must learn martial arts as fast as possible. The fastest route to become proficient quickly was to join a martial arts school. In the place where Ashu lived, Pining, there are 3 different martial arts schools, and among them the strongest are the 3 clans. Ashu had heard that the owner of one of the clans had enough power to cut gold in half and crack stones with sheer strength, which is why nobody ever picked a fight with that clan or challenged its leader. To escape Ji Hang's grip, Ashu must join one of those schools. If he became a disciple in one of those schools, and then the Ji Hang family tried to take a disciple away, the school chief would personally investigate, and the person responsible would be punished. The problem was the tuition. The total fee was 5,000 coins. Ashu only had 2,000 coins now. As a fisherman, if he kept working at the current rate, it would take a long time to gather the rest. So he either needs to find a fast way to earn money or start doing 3 or 4 jobs a day. The croc teasing his master made Ashu smile. He decided not to worry too far ahead. He'd act carefully and wait for the right time. If he kept daydreaming about the future, he'd do nothing. For now, he needed to keep doing what he was doing, and that was exactly what he did. Since the day his body began to grow rapidly, it had been adapting to the new power. Not only his strength, but his mental power was increasing as well, a lot. That mental growth could prove very useful down the road. He didn't want to waste more time talking, so he dove back into fishing. While searching for fish underwater, Ashu tells us something else. Ever since the system awoke inside him, swimming and moving in water had become extremely easy, something impossible for an ordinary person. He'd named his belly pet Immovable because he liked the joke. Immovable also helped him race in the water. The races made him move and flee more naturally. He trained with his pet like it was a game. Immovable was a boring name, so he just called it Kroko. When Kroko heard race, he nodded and accepted the challenge. Compressing the water with the technique Ashu had learned, they surged forward. Kroko taught him this trick. Water-typed animals obviously know water better. There's a downside. Krokos burn stamina fast. Still, no one could match their current speed. As he raced, a fish zipped past, so fast that it shattered the pride Ashu felt. It turned out to be a mythical fish. That's why it was so fast. What's a mythical fish? Ashu explains that in this world, many species have evolved with extraordinary powers. Among them are mythical fish. They live in deep layers and are very different from surface fish, powerful and saturated with mana. There were 2 mythical fish, and seeing even one was a marvel. Seeing 2 was a huge accomplishment for Ashu. When Ashu tried to get close, the fish shot away. He knew his limit, so he sent Kroko after them. Hearing Ashu, Kroko reverted to its original form and attacked at high speed, trying to trap the mythical fish from both sides, but even that failed. Frustrated that he hadn't brought a fishing net, Ashu remembered he still had one last option: flow of water control. Using it, he manipulated currents to trap the mythical fish and struck in a flash, grabbing them so they couldn't escape. As he captured the mythical fish, Ashu noticed a huge creature below them watching, so massive it was hard to describe. Our protagonist, ecstatic with pride, failed to properly gauge the threat beneath him. That mistake would cost him. The next moment, that underlying creature, dragon or giant fish, the author doesn't define it clearly, seized him and dragged him deeper. It tossed him deeper into the abyss, then came close, staring at him with fury. Down in the dark, he couldn't clearly see the creature, and a cold fear crawled across him. It turned out to be a large catfish-like water ball, and Ashu realized that ball was about to attack him. Using his ability, he smashed the water ball right into its mouth. If he had relied on his reflexes alone, he might not have dodged in time. His reactions had improved a lot. But the giant catfish was enraged, and coming close, slapped him. The catfish even laughed at him, which infuriated Ashu. How could a fish laugh at him? Maybe the catfish forgot Ashu wasn't alone. Kroko arrived and smacked the catfish across its face with its tail, sending its tongue lolling out and dragging it across the bottom. Kroko wasn't done. It went back and slammed the catfish on the ground, and Ashu, delighted, patted his pet and praised it. Now he had a shot at taming the catfish as a pet. He used the same talisman, Blood Dominant Seal, on the catfish, but such a skill required a strong mental state. As I mentioned earlier, his increasing mental power would become an asset. Warnings flashed. His mental energy was overloading. Still, he pushed on, shouting, straining his mind. In the end, he forced the catfish to submit. When Ashu crawled out of the water, he was worn out and mentally exhausted. He hadn't expected the big catfish's resistances to be that high. The catfish looked dumb, but that was because it wasn't in its original form. Ashu was thrilled with the reward he'd won. To evolve the catfish, he needed 800 units of water essence, enough to upgrade the fish into a tiger-headed catfish. It was thick and heavy enough that he nicknamed it Chowky, a name that suited it. He wouldn't change that. He gave the mythical fish and the smaller rewards to Kroko because Kroko had earned them by helping. The catfish, now aware that serving a master would be how it got its future rewards, accepted its role. On board the boat with Ashu were many other fish. He first cooked and ate a small mythical fish to test whether it would boost his strength. Eating it granted him 18 water essence. To compare, one spirit plant would give 18 essence, so one fish equaled eating 18 spirit plants. The bigger mythical fish would give 53 or more. His fusion rate was already at 7.5. If he kept consuming these fish, his fusion would climb past 10. But he didn't need to rush. He had tuition to pay. Tuition meant the martial arts school fee. The fish he caught today might cover the tuition. His stats had improved significantly, and an additional attribute had unlocked that would help him on his journey. This part of the story opens in Ying City's market, a bustling place. In the crowd Ashu was wandering through, checking things out, when he spots a commotion. Despite the festival having passed, people still gather, watching a spectacle. The crowd was assembled around another fisherman named Chang. Chang had caught a spirit fish, a huge spirit fish, and the man next to him was drawing a crowd, forcing people to come see. That's why a huge crowd is formed. People are amazed to see a spirit or mythical fish. Catching one isn't easy, and it takes a skilled fisherman to do it. In everyone's eyes, Chang looks less like a fisherman and more like a hero. Ashu edges closer and realizes someone else has also caught a mythical fish, so he squeezes into the crowd to see what kind of fish it is. Everyone in the crowd knows Ashu, and none of them are happy to see him pushing through, but Ashu doesn't care. He gets up to Chang without wasting time. Quietly, he says, Feels like the heavens are favoring our village. They've given us 2 mythical fish today. A guy behind him scoffs. What are you babbling about? Can't you see Chang only caught 1 mythical fish? Maybe you need glasses. At that, Ashu pulls the fish he'd caught from his pot, the same mythical fish he'd nabbed earlier with Kroko. He's not talking about Chang's fish, he's talking about his own. He clears up the man's confusion. As expected, the crowd starts ridiculing him. They call his fish ugly, asking how such an ugly fish could be a mythical fish. Some say Ashu's only seeking attention, that he's picked up a regular fish and falsely called it mythical. The whole crowd laughs at Ashu, and he hates it. Chang, seeing the crowd siding with him, swells with pride. Then a new character appears, not an ordinary person. From a distance, he recognizes Chang's caught mythical fish. The fish Chang had is called a red-blooded fish. This newcomer is Yuki. He's no commoner. Yuki is a martial arts instructor from the elite Kion clan. You already know this clan is top tier. The crowd stirs when an elite member arrives. Yuki goes straight to the point and asks how much Chang will sell the fish for. Being elite, people don't argue with Yuki. He'll pay what he deems right. Yuki asks the weight. Chang says it's 1.18 kg. Yuki calculates and says, this should cost at most 150 yen. Chang accepts happily. The deal looks set. Meanwhile, Ashu sidles up to Yuki and quietly asks if Yuki can tell him about his fish. The crowd keeps mocking Ashu, calling him desperate. Why is he asking an elite clan instructor to check his fish? They expect it to be a waste of time. The 3 guys taunting Ashu hiss behind him, and Yuki has said nothing yet. They warn Ashu that if the instructor gets mad, he's done for. But the opposite happens. Yuki looks at Ashu's mythical fish and is stunned. It's an honest, genuine mythical fish, a hornist fish. And Ashu casually tells Yuki its weight, 1.61 kg. Even Yuki is surprised. Ashu didn't even know details about his own fish, yet he called the weight correctly. Yuki names the fish and immediately triples its price. This isn't 150 yen, it's 325 yen. The crowd goes deadly quiet. They'd all been treating Ashu like a clown with a regular fish, but now the price is enormous. Some in the crowd would take generations to save that much money. Chang, who'd been mocking Ashu a moment ago, suddenly gets nervous. Everyone knows the amount now, and someone might try to snatch the money from a kid. But Ashu's focus is elsewhere. He agrees to sell. Chang lifts his own fish and moves off to take the cash. Yuki, curious, asks more about Ashu's fish. Ashu honestly admits he didn't know much about it, only that it was a mythical fish. Yuki explains these fish are very rare. They're used in medicine and sometimes refined into pills that can aid a cultivator's breakthroughs. Yuki had been searching for precisely this kind of fish for his experiments, so he's grateful to Ashu and tells him so. Night comes, and we find Ashu in the street, counting his money in the open when a shadow appears, and he tenses up. But it's his friend, Libo. Libo's come to congratulate him. The whole village is talking about Ashu's profit, and townsfolk from nearby cities are taking notice. Libo jokes that if Ashu wants to properly thank him, he could just give Libo 350 yen. A joke, but Ashu doesn't want to give away his cash. Then Libo answers Ashu's question about martial arts tuition. He says he was supposed to be sent to the young family's dojo. The young family charges 350 yen tuition. Lodging and meals aren't included. Additional luggage and boarding cost 500 yen. And if Ashu wanted a proper life at the hall, meals, medical care, that would run into thousands more. It's pricey, but it's the best. Ashu isn't greedy. He has 455 yen now, and Libo says that's enough to sign up. Libo's thrilled, calling him Ambani for having money. They plan to sign up together the next day. Then Ashu hears a strange voice. Find that mythical fish again. But he doesn't know where the voice came from. The scene cuts to Jihong clan headquarters. In underground chambers, the butlers report that Shao vanished a long time ago and that every clue always points back to one kid, Ashu. The Jihong family's manor orders them not to waste their minds or time on petty things. Bring them a full report only once everything is resolved. That's what the butlers are for, finding people like Shao and handling matters, so the manor's logic makes sense. As for Ashu's current stats, he has 455 yen, Kroko and Chowki are with him, and his fusion is sitting at 7.5. Not bad at all.